So, Governor, needless to say, with the closure of Hovenza, we are going to be facing some serious turbulent times ahead. Let's first speak about the impact that this is going to have on WAPA and the cost to our ratepayers.
Sure.
Have you been speaking with Hugo Hodge, Executive Director down at WAPA, to discuss what the next step will be? In your State of the Territory address, you actually challenged the management team to come up with realistic solutions.
Yes, in fact, I've been speaking to Hugo and also to Juanita Young, who's the chair of the board, with really two charges. The most immediate one is to make sure that come July 1st, we have a new fuel oil supplier, if nothing changes with Hovenza, that we're able to have someone that is new. And they've already looked at some opportunities and some various suppliers that they're having discussions with. And also, we're going to talk, quite frankly, with Hovenza about whether, under the concession agreement, they're required to bid on the contract also. So that's being taken care of. And we've sort of expanded that also to that whoever WAPA is talking with, we want to see if they can also provide gasoline to the independents, can provide to the other needs and providers within the community. So we're sort of expanding that role. But at the same time, let's look at a realistic plan. As WAPA is beginning to address the whole issue of fuel, and you're, quite frankly, you're right. It could result in there being higher prices depending on the price of oil, depending on the additional transportation costs, because no longer are we just coming from St. Croix to St. Thomas. We're going to be coming from other areas, whether it be from the Dominican Republic or, say, Eustacia. So the transportation costs alone may add to our fuel costs. But let's also look at what can we do to reduce our reliance on fuel. And let's come up with a game plan. So I've asked WAPA to give to me in a reasonable period of time. I don't want them to take their focus off the primary objective, which is get a new supplier, but within a reasonable period of time, and reasonable might mean by May, April, let's have a plan that we can start articulating, that we can go to the PSC, and we can discuss, and also to show it to the legislature, is it natural gas? Should we be looking at the coal plant on St. Croix? What can we do with respect to solar? What can we do with wind? What are the obstacles so we can have a much more diversified portfolio? So that's something I want them to do, and to tell me what needs to be done and how much it will cost.
Let's get into the subject of the sports complex over in St. Croix and the future of bringing sports tourism to the territory, which is a very viable option.
I agree.
At this point in time, do we have someone that is willing to step up to the plate for that initial $25 million?
Yes, we do. In fact, we have a joint venture that's willing to step up. The contract is about to be signed. It's going through the process. My attorneys are looking at it. They've looked at it. They're ready to go. I want to make sure that we can, in fact, do our part of the financing, which will be done based on the Diageo revenues. There's 3% that's required to go to community facilities. And that's the source of funding that we will be looking at to be able to fund this. So this won't come out of the general tax base. This is not coming out of any bank account. This is coming out of future revenues, and that's how we'll support it. But right now, we have Olympic organizations. We have the USA Tennis. We have the Volleyball Association, all willing and able to sit down as sponsoring organizations and say, if you have this facility, we will sanction the facility and we will give you sporting events equal to the competitiveness of the facility. So we can go from USA Tennis to British lawn tennis, beach volleyball to swimming, and then to AAA baseball with the Paulie Joseph Stadium itself proper. And I think that with this, we not only get the construction activity, but then we also get the ability to sell this project so the lenders of William and Punch will see we are in fact having an infusion of guests to St. Croix. Therefore, we need this resort that's been spoken about since 2001, 2002.
Getting back to the topic of dismissals and cutbacks, we're going to experience another wave of dismissals within another week or so?
We have, unfortunately, as a result of the inaction that took place, and it was agreed to because the senators asked me to hold off doing anything until they made a decision. We released a memorandum to the departments indicating that a third wave and that we need the departments to cut by an aggregate of $20 million. And that also includes the agencies, meaning University of the Virgin Islands, Governor Juan F. Louis Hospital, Royal Esther Schneider Medical Center, Waste Management Authority. In the aggregate, all these agencies are supposed to cut by an aggregate of $20 million. And we've given them the flexibility to decide how best to do it. Ultimately, I do believe they will come back with employee dismissals, unfortunately.
3 pillars of any society: having healthcare, public safety, education. Cutbacks in all of those separate agencies, it's going to have a tremendous blow on this territory. how do we move forward in trying to stave off any more or future layoffs?
I think the only way is for the senators and I to have a very real and realistic and hard decision and a hard discussion as to what are the options. Because I completely agree. At this particular time, we don't need to cut back on police officers. Our healthcare facilities are being cut back on programs, but at the same time, we're having, on the healthcare reform, we're having an additional $300 million come into the territory. We need to figure out a way to leverage that. And education is just too important, whether it be at the early childhood level or the University of the Virgin Islands at the upper end. So I think the only way is that the senators are going to have to figure out a way to get one of the 8, which includes Senator Louis Patrick Hill, Senator Alvin Williams, Senator Barsinger, Senator Janet Millen Young, Senator Neville James, Senator Terrence Positive Nelson, and Senator O'Reilly to change their position to be able to say, we're willing to at least consider a vote for some sort of tax increase or fee increase. It does not have to be the gross receipts tax. It can be something else. But the only way is that we can't keep cutting. We've got to build a revenue stream. And right now, there are the obstacles to building that revenue stream. And irrespective of whether they think I've taken a hard position or an aggressive position, I'm willing to sit down with 8 to 10 to 15, whatever it takes to be able to try to figure out a solution. I believe borrowing is the right answer right now. I don't think there's any community that can afford not to borrow, particularly a closed economy like ours. You know, we're 4 islands, but we're all interconnected. And right now, we need to figure out a way to get the cash resources to pay WAPA's outstanding utility fuel bill. We need to have the ability to pay on the income tax refunds, and we need to stabilize government services. And the only way we can do it right now is to be able to have the revenue source to go to an institution and say, even with the Jovensa situation, because a lot of what we were doing was before Jovensa, even though Jovensa has changed the dynamics tremendously, is there a way that we can still fashion a borrowing to have the resources to continue while we figure out in the long term what else needs to be done? We're looking at information technology, we're looking at healthcare, we have the construction activity that's taking place, hopefully with the Paulie Joseph complex. We have the airline traffic coming in. We have 7 ships in the harbor here today in St. Thomas. And we still have the cruise ships coming to St. Croix. We've got the foundation. It's going to be tough, but we can figure out a way to do it if we're all on the same page.